real educators who are living this work. When I think about the greatness that is happening every day in schools all over the world, I feel compelled to do a small part in helping others understand the many facets of the work we do. We hope our listeners will be able to gain an inside look as we pull back the curtain. Welcome back to the Minett podcast. Today, we are changing things up. For our last episode of the year, I am going to actually be on the other side of the table and will be the one answering the questions. So, returning to the podcast today, our new hostess will be Alex Ketter, our instructional coach. So, Alex, I'll let you take it from here.
Hello, everyone. I am so glad to be back with you today. So, Dr. Prusak, first talk with us a little bit about your background, how you got into education, and how you came to open Minett.
Okay, so I started my official journey at Riddle Elementary in 2004 as a fourth grade teacher. One of my most memorable and special years. I got to be on a team with a friend, Brett Shelby, who also went to Austin College with me. So we both kind of came up through the Austin College teacher program, and then we got to be the two fourth grade teachers on our team. I was hired by the great Minett at Riddle, and then I got to work under the great Beverly Woodson at Bledsoe Elementary. I was the assistant principal there for 2 awesome years. I was an elementary ELAR coordinator for the district, which I loved. I loved getting to, facilitate curriculum writing and really work with our instructional coaches, which was by far my favorite part, lead professional development, all the things. And then I became the principal at Robertson Elementary. I served there for 5 years, which was just absolutely magical. I thought that would always be my only principal role. Loved it there. And then I was asked to be on the visioning committee several years ago for what was then known as Elementary 43 and now known as Minett Elementary. Served on that, really got to see the school from just the very ground level all the way to when we opened our doors. And so I asked Dr. Waldrop if he would consider letting me lead Minett. And so that's where we're at.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so talk to us a little bit more about Minett Elementary. What makes our campus so unique from your perspective as our campus principal?
So I think the most unique part of our school is when we began dreaming and visioning for this campus. I will never forget the architects came and they brought some initial floor plans and drawings, and Dr. Waldrop said, let's roll those up. And I want to start with the question of, what do we believe education should be for students? And we got to start from ground zero, and we took the profile of a future ready learner and the profile of a future ready educator, and we really talked about, like, if these are our values and our goals and our outcomes for students, then what does the learning environment need to look like? How does it need to function in order to support these outcomes? And so that has been unique, and with that we have been able to try some new things and do some things. I tell the staff we're pioneers, which is exciting because we're doing something that hasn't been done in our district with the co-teaching model and all the things I'm sure we'll get into. The great part about being a pioneer is you're not trying to attain a certain answer or a certain mark on a bullseye. The flip side of that is a lot of risk taking, a lot of trust, a lot of just do it and see how it works. And so again, that's probably the second most unique thing, is this building is full of educators who are being called to take risks and try new every single day.
Well, and how cool, like you just spoke to, that you had the opportunity to serve on that visioning committee years ago. So to truly get to see, like, not only the physical building, but all of the inner workings that we've been working so hard to achieve here at Minett. Like, you got to see that from day zero, not even day one, but day zero before Minett was Minett. And that's just so cool. You talked a little bit, just briefly, you mentioned co-teaching. So where did co-teaching kind of start? Where was that dreamed up?
Well, we just really thought about, like, do we need to have learning spaces that are designed for one teacher and one set of kids? Like, is that a necessity? Or, you know, if we had multiple educators in one learning space and a larger number of students, would that allow us to increase our collaboration? Would it allow us to be able to flexibly group students based on need more easily? Would it allow us to build the capacity of the educators in the building when they're watching each other teach? And so those are kind of some of the questions that we started playing around with. You know, early on, I just always had this thought in my head of like a school with no walls, a school with no walls, because, you know, what you're doing, like, figuratively, right, is you're tearing down the walls that sometimes can be used as our excuse and hold us back. And so for me, this idea of like a school with no walls, yes, we have walls. People come here and they think, they're like, oh, you do have walls. Yes, we have walls. But it just provides that another layer of opportunity for teachers to collaborate and to learn from each other. And that's really been the one of the coolest parts of co-teaching.
You know, so I've heard so many educators along the way, like, say that mantra of teaching with the door open, which means like literally the physical door, but then also just kind of like that internal meaning of like that vulnerability piece, the relationship building with your team and with teachers and all students in the building. And I think that while at Minett we have the physical space that allows us to do that easier, it's also helped us kind of launch the culture that we're building in the internal piece. So I love that.
Well, and you said the culture. Everybody, you hear it. You're always on the tours with us, and everybody says the culture here, it just seems different. Well, when you are working in a classroom where one whole side of your classroom is glass, you are seen. You are out there, right? So immediately that trust is being built. You know, and you know what it's like to have somebody walking by and seeing what you're doing all day, but we're all in the same boat, so we're all on the journey together, and I definitely think it increases the urgency in which trust is built.
So yeah, it's almost speaking to the level of visibility. I feel like we could probably talk an entire podcast episode about how the visibility within our campus just allows for so many incredible and positive things to happen within relationships in our curriculum and instruction learning environment. I mean, we could talk, that could be a whole separate issue or episode. Okay, so you've been speaking about the visioning for Minett. So what was, how did you go about determining and measuring success in the first year of opening a new campus?
So two big pieces, right? So one is always you have your data, right? You're going to have success metrics along the way of, you know, student achievement. So we're looking at student reading growth, student math growth. We're looking at district assessments, you know, interim assessment data. I'm closely monitoring, you know, I kind of look at the school. We relieved one school, and so that kind of helps give us a guidepost because all of those students, you know, received their education for the years prior from that school. So kind of making sure that we have a guidepost of, you know, where we're trending as far as our academic data. But then the other huge piece is constantly getting feedback from our stakeholders. So in the fall, we rolled out a teacher survey, a student survey, and a staff survey. We just recently completed a spring survey, so we're waiting for those results, but just constantly getting feedback from really parents, teachers, and students on, you know, do you feel connected? Do you feel safe? Do you feel like you have an adult that you can turn to? Do you think you have peer relationships that you can turn to? So really just from day one, trying to build that community of inclusivity and safety and nurturing so that kids can then achieve academically.
So that's incredible in the feedback piece that you spoke to. What changes do you anticipate seeing in these different success metrics that you mentioned from year 1 to year 5?
That's a good question. So as you know, we are already starting to plan for, what will year 2 look like? And so some of the things that are really on our radar is like, as we'll have a group of teachers that have co-taught for a year, so supporting them as they continue to grow, but then also supporting teachers who will be new to Minett, who that will be their first year to co-teach, because we have to honor that. We can't just pretend that that's not a big deal. We have to really honor and support and cultivate that group as well, the way that we did our teachers this year. We are really going to continue to look at, how is our small group instruction allowing us to differentiate for all kids, and then what structures and systems and how does our daily schedule support that to give teachers that protected time. I definitely think that, continuing to build our house system, we really have some great plans and moving forward with a curriculum that will really guide our house huddles when we meet as a house. That's what teachers are wanting. They're wanting to go deeper and more learning focused with the houses, and it just shows, it's a testament to our staff who are just constantly like, how can we continue moving forward?
That just gives me chills to think about. So what are some other ways that you really envision Minett evolving over the future?
One of the things that in the near future, so we have this idea of, agency, student agency, staff agency, providing voice and choice. And so I tell the staff all the time, like, the greatness that's in this building is it's truly unbelievable. And so what we did this spring is we had all the staff members were expected to fill out a conference style session overview of something that them or the co-teaching partnership or the triad are doing really well, and that they would like to share with the staff. And so one of our August professional learning days will be completely teacher led. And so we're going to lift up and let them lift up the practices that they have utilized over the last year, and that are really working in this environment for our students. And so they're going to lead an ed camp type style day of learning. And that's, again, it's voice, it's choice, and it's honoring the greatness, the work that they're doing and the results that they're getting. And then it's also building the capacity and the relationships on the campus, because I now know that, I can definitely go to Hannah Kolarski if I want to talk more about small groups that are focused on social strategies. My kids are struggling and I want to go get some support there. So you just start to, again, keep building this web of just connection, and it just, I sit back and watch the greatness happen, and just support and love the teachers as they just spread their wings and soar.
I love that this was specifically what you touched on when you think about the evolution of Minett, because one of the most incredible leadership traits that you have is your ability to empower teachers and grow leaders. And we know that that's something that you're really passionate about. You have that shared leadership approach. It's you get out of the way and you just empower teachers to step into their own leadership and even just teaching skills. So thinking in that kind of sense, how do you encourage leadership development more specifically within staff, but even students here at Minett? What are some of the things too that we do with our students?
So good. It always makes me think back to when our slide was installed and people would say, well, what are your rules for the slide? And my answer was, it's not my slide. This isn't my school that these people come to work at and these kids come to learn. It is our school. I'm just as much a part of that hour as anyone. And so kids included, like you said. So, I mean, I'm pretty forward with teacher leadership. I mean, I will call staff together and say anybody who's interested in working on their master's, or I will just actually say, it's time now. You need to start working on your master's. What support do you need from me? I will have conversations with people about, you know, their next steps when they leave Minett, and what are the things they need to do right now. What are the things you need to do next year so that you're ready to make that move whenever you're called to step into that next position. You know, I tell the staff, we're not meant to be here, and I believe you're not meant to be in any role to be there forever. You're meant to be in that space and time. You're meant to grow and serve, give it your all, and then you're going to move on. We're not all going to retire together. And so when you really look at it that way, you see that, like, my job is to leave this place better than I found it. As far as students goes, oh my goodness. And I know our listeners who really have been listening to the episodes, our student episode, it was just such a testament. But they own this, you know, I try to teach them that it's their choice. I had a first grader in here today, and we were having a consequence, and we were just talking about, you know, that was your choice to make. And so we have a place of risk taking and choice, but when adults and parents and students that are a part of this Minett community mess up and make mistakes, they're given grace. We love you through it. We all make mistakes. We all are risk takers, and part of that is, you know, we own our actions. And so that's a really long-winded answer, because clearly it's something I'm very passionate about. But again, I just happen to have a certain role. This isn't my school. This is the student's school. It's the parent's school. It's the staff member's school.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you having that mindset has impacted our campus culture in the most incredibly positive ways. And it's how we've spoken, you know, already tonight or today about the culture. You just feel it, and it's just, it's incredible. Okay, so when you look back on this first year of Minett Elementary, what is the one thing that you were the most proud of?
That we're a family. We are a family. All the way from the top, all the way to Buddy and Joni Minett. I feel like if I needed something or I needed help, I have their cell phone. I can call them. They would drop what they're doing and be there for me or anyone else in this building. To our staff, the fact that about a year ago to the day, we were going to our first staff connection event and meeting each other. To think that I interviewed, I think, everybody, maybe besides Mrs. Wells, our assistant principal. She was at an in-person interview, but everybody else almost was via Zoom. And to think that already our parents feel, you know, you can just feel it when you go out at dismissal. Our parents feel like this is home. We can have difficult conversations. We can push each other. We can disagree. We can do all those things in the name of, like, a shared commitment. And that's the thing I'm most proud of, is that people feel connected in community in less than 12 months of even opening these doors.
That feels so hard to believe.
Yeah, I know. And even just, I mean, I watch all of our 5th grade leaders, and they're working with kindergarten students, and they're working with, you know, you hear kindergartners be like, Minett, you know, as he goes down the hall, and those are the moments that are like, we did it.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah. The celebration it's incredible to celebrate everything that you just shared. Okay, so now we've come to the part of the podcast where we get to play a game, and this was a top secret game that you have absolutely no idea what we're gonna play. So we're gonna play Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader?
Oh no.
Yeah, and to be honest, Mrs. Miskey and I did a little practice run earlier, and I missed a couple. So we'll see how you do.
I do have to say, I went and supported our Lone Star Challenge team on Saturday. I was watching their, it's called Super Quiz. It's a really cool academic program that our district puts on, and there were questions, and I was texting my principal group saying, I don't know the answers to these questions. Oh no.
It's gonna be great. Okay, ready?
Okay, I always tell people, know your strengths.
Know your strengths.
So y'all might see that what I'm not strong in. Okay, here we go.
Okay. What is the largest ocean in the world?
The Pacific.
Yes!
Yes!
Okay. What is the world's largest desert?
The Sahara.
Yes! Which planet in our solar system is known as the red planet?
Mars.
Yeah. What is the capital of Canada?
Quebec?
No. That was my guess.
Montreal.
No. Ottawa.
Okay, well, at least Quebec and Montreal are in Canada.
Yes.
That's a bonus.
Who invented the telephone?
Oh, Alexander Graham Bell?
Mm-hmm. What is the smallest prime number?
0, 3, 1, 7.
No, it's 2. It's 2. Okay. Which state in the United States is known as the Sunshine State?
California. Florida. Florida.
Yes. What is the symbol for the element hydrogen on the periodic table?
Are you serious?
I didn't come up with these.
Wait, say that again.
What is this? We're gonna have to edit this out. What is the symbol for the element hydrogen on the periodic table?
H.
Yes.
Okay.
2 more. Which river is
Sweating.
the longest in the world?
The Nile.
Yes. Who is the 16th president of the United
Really?
States?
You could let me guess all day and I would never, but I'm just, Abraham Lincoln.
Yes!
Oh, well, yeah, because, I mean, he's a popular one.
Yes. See, I think you're mostly smarter than a 5th grader.
Mostly. So clearly, I would like everyone to know
Mhm.
that in order to get your PhD in educational leadership, you take statistics. So I can do some pretty okay level statistics, but we don't talk about prime numbers when you're running a dissertation.
That's understandable.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
That's
fair.
And I hire great math teachers,
Yes.
so I don't have to know what the smallest prime number is.
Yes. Okay, well, as we wrap up today's episode, we want to take a moment to thank Dr. Kyla Prusak so very much for sharing her leadership and guidance with us. It's so clear from our conversation that Minett Elementary is a flagship of innovation, collaboration, and excellence in education. Dr. Prusak, your dedication to creating a connected campus, fostering a culture of inquiry-based learning, and just empowering teachers and students to be leaders, it's such an inspiration to all of us, truly. So we're so grateful for all of her insights and wisdom, and we look forward to hearing more about the success of Minett Elementary School in all of its years to come.
Oh, thank you, Alex. If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please leave us a like on YouTube